right. Nice. All right. We're rolling here, everybody. We're on another episode of the Ice Team podcast. I'm super excited about this one. I got a longtime friend of mine, Darren Dorn, joining us. I think you know the gentleman to my left, the infamous Thane Jensen. Thane works with us at Clam on the marketing team. We brought Darren in. We were chatting. I've gotten to know Darren for years, man. I mean, we've met each other long before a relationship with Clam.
Yeah, it's been 10 years probably.
Yeah. We've been doing a lot of events together. Darren hunts and fishes a ton. He's good friends with my uncle. I know you've met Uncle Kenny, the infamous Uncle Kenny. He's one of the people that got me into fishing, to be honest. And I was a young kid. I don't do the hunting thing, which is going to be a big part of this podcast. Is one of the reasons I brought Thane on as well, is because I don't hunt. You guys live and breathe hunting. But I didn't hunt a lot. My Uncle Kenny took Ryan, my brother, hunting and took me fishing.
Nice.
So Kenny, if you're watching, like, one of the reasons I got involved in this sport was because of Kenny. So,
and if you want a good laugh, talk to Kenny.
It's never a dull moment with Uncle Kenny. He always puts a smile on my face. He was the guy at Christmas. Not to get off topic, Christmas is coming up in less than 2 months. Mm-hmm. What the heck?
Yeah, it's coming.
He would give all the nephews and nieces stockings. So we go to grandma's house. My dad and Kenny are brothers, so they're mom and dad. And Kenny would show up with a sack full of stockings, and every nephew and niece got a stocking, and he individualized every single one of them. Oh, wow. Meaning, like, in mine, he would wrap individual fishing lures and things. You know, in other people's, it'd be something else that he knew they liked. So, like, he went above and beyond. And I always remember looking forward. I had Christmas at home. We'd get downstairs. You'd run. You open up presents. I remember I can't wait to go to Grandma and Grandpa's house because of my stocking from Uncle Kenny.
That's awesome.
It's kind of cool how you really think about, like, the bike you just got at home fails in comparison to the stocking of stuff Uncle Kenny would get you. He'd even wrap like a Hershey's Kiss. And you know him, so you know.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was pretty awesome. So Darren's joining us. Obviously, we fish together. Darren's also on our pro staff at Clam Outdoors. Does a lot of stuff, but he's doing a ton of things for disabled outdoor men and women to give them opportunities in the sport of fishing and hunting, to put it into the forefront, to let people know that, you know, this segment of our sport exists. It's a growing segment.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, you're seeing a lot of things happen. I'm not going to steal your thunder. But before we jump into the meat and potatoes of this, Darren, I think you should let our listeners and viewers know kind of how you got really involved in the outdoors. Maybe take a giant step back to little Darren Dorn running around, fishing, hunting, doing whatever he does. Let people know kind of how it all started for you.
It just, I was young, 10 years old, maybe even younger than that. My mom, my stepdad, they always take me out fishing. My dad would take me out fishing. And it kind of just started from there. And then I got introduced into guns and shooting birds and deer, and started going out hunting with my dad. And then I took firearm safety first, and really enjoyed shooting. So I wanted to go try it out, and went deer hunting with my grandpa and my dad, and then got into waterfowl hunting and fell in love.
Mm-hmm.
And then would go out to South Dakota pheasant hunting, do that a lot with family from my stepdad's family. And I just kept on and on and on, and here I am today. I got in an accident when I was 18, put me in the chair. I didn't want to ruin a fancy new pickup, so I actually swerved to miss a deer. Go figure. I've actually hit 7 deer, and had one hit me since my accident. So deer have it out for me. They love me, but I don't really hunt them. I hunt birds mainly, pheasants, ducks, geese. But
sounds like they hunt you.
Correct. But no, I have a huge passion for getting disabled people out hunting and fishing, and here I am.
Yeah.
If I can make somebody smile, go out and have good memories with hunting and fishing, that's what I'm about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. So when you were a kid, what were some of your more memorable hunts? Anything that's, like as anglers, we have those pivoting days where we caught a big crappie, or man, I caught one every drop or every cast. I don't hunt, so I'm trying to like feed off you guys. What was a pivotal moment that you're like, that's where I'm like, this is my thing?
I had one when I was 13, 14 years old. It was actually a fishing. We were up on Kego Lake up by just north of, I can't think of Cross Lake.
Okay.
Bass fishing. And me and my stepdad, we were always about the big bass when I was younger. And I remember setting the hook into one with, I had using a spinnerbait, white spinnerbaits we love to use on that lake. And I set the hook into probably the biggest bass of my life. And we got it all the way to the boat. My stepdad went in to go net it. And right as he netted it, it jumped. And it spit the spinnerbait out and it swam away. And I cried. And I cried and I cried.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one that got away.
There's so many of those stories. The one that got away on the fishing side, hunting for me, like I said, my dad is a big hunter and he took me along and, I see pictures. I don't recall these stories, but I remember looking at photos of me and Dad in the driveway, and I had my little toy guns around my hip like a cowboy. I had a pot to cook the pheasant in, and I had a set of handcuffs. Awesome. I mean, there's so many things that are like almost foreshadowed.
Handcuffs.
I was going to handcuff the pheasant. I know, it's so weird.
Do you still have those handcuffs?
No.
Okay.
But like and a salt shaker, because my grandfather said if you put salt on their tail, they won't fly away. So yeah, it's and my uncle got me ice fishing just like yours, Matt, which is kind of cool. You know what? God bless those people that take a family that maybe doesn't have a hunter in their life and take their kids under their wing and just take them out and show them the ropes, because you just never know. Maybe it's not for them, and that's fine. But I really think it's cool when someone other than your parent does it. It's awesome with your parent. I mean, I love hunting with my dad, but I love hunting with my uncle. I love fishing with my dad, but I certainly enjoy with my uncle as well. So that's cool. And to be able to share that, Darren, with, folks that are either born disabled or become disabled, I think is just a tremendous, tremendous thing that you're doing. And to your point, Matt, there's a huge need for it out there. There really is. Definitely.
Yeah.
And you can never say, I can't, because you can.
Yep.
There's a will, there's a way. We will show you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's what I love about what I've seen of you, Darren, over the handful of times that we've been around each other. You're not a I can't guy. You're well, let's figure it out guy.
Yeah,
and I think that's a big part of folks that find themselves disabled. It's going to be different. There's no two ways about it, right? But you smile, you're happy, and you just get it done. You know, and great job, and thank you for doing that and being that inspiration for others to get them out of the house and in the outdoors.
Yeah, and my uncle Kenny, who I haven't said yet, he's in a wheelchair. Yep. So my uncle Kenny, who got me into fishing and stuff, he is paralyzed from upper chest on down.
Somewhere in that.
I know the whole story.
Than me.
Yeah, motorcycle accident, and he's one of those guys. Like you, Darren, if you met him, like he tells me, we were joking before we went live, he's always like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I do more than you do, and I remember as a kid, we'd go to the sports shows together and do that. And I often think, like you said, kudos to someone other than mom or dad that maybe got you out fishing or hunting. Cause my dad, we didn't have a boat. We didn't grow up fishing. People just assume, okay, Matt, you must have grew up in a fishing family. Like this is your thing. No. We'd shore fish once or twice a summer if we were lucky growing up. And my uncle had the boat. And, obviously Kenny's a big one of my idols. It was crazy. And I remember going to a sports show, like you said, like, there's a will, there's a way. We went to a sports show and they had a new blind, what are they called? Ones that go in the air. like a stand.
Tree stand.
like a stand, a deer stand. Yeah, there you go. Again, I'm not a hunter.
It's okay. Well,
And
yet.
and
Yes,
they had one there on display. I think it was the Northwest Sports Show, and I was there with my dad and my uncle Kenny, and the guy was talking about how awesome this is, this and that, and they were telling Kenny, I think something along the lines of, someday we want to get one that's handicap accessible. And Kenny goes, oh, that one's fine. I'm good. And the guy's like, no, there's no way to get in. He goes, really? My Uncle Kenny, in front of a crowd, gets into this thing, upper body strength like a brute mule, and he's like, send me up. So there's Kenny in this thing. My dad's going, this isn't good. Kenny's up in this thing 30 feet in the air now, because now they're lifting him up. And I remember that day, I think I was like 10 years old. I'm like, my Uncle Kenny's Superman. This dude's Superman. So, yeah, that's awesome. So, when it comes to hunting and fishing, right now we're filming this. This is going to come out after the Minnesota deer opener, but we're filming this and recording this. Tomorrow is the deer opener in Minnesota.
Yep.
Rifle season. And I learned through Thane or Drew, other people here, about the seasons, and you can hunt deer right now with a bow. That's a much longer season. And then rifle season starts tomorrow. And talking on hunting maybe a little more before we switch gears, my understanding on deer camp is it's more about the camaraderie and the holiday of it and the family bonding. I think we talked about this the other day too, Thane, where a lot of people get together on deer camp, not just to go shoot a deer. I've learned that is kind of a bonus.
Yeah.
It's spending time with friends and family.
Darren, have you deer hunted? I know you said you don't, and we joked that they hunt you. It's the red truck, by the way. I know several people with red vehicles that have problem with deer.
And I drive a red truck.
I know. But you're right, Matt. And this one here this year, tonight's going to be a weird one. Tomorrow's going to be really crazy. It'll be the first time in a long time I've not gone to deer camp, and I'm going to be fine, right? But it's just there's something missing.
Mm-hmm.
There's something missing, and it truly isn't about the deer hunting. It's not about the shooting of the animal. There's just so much for the experience. The showing up at camp, giving your family or your buddies a hard time. Hearing their stories. What's going? A lot of families. This is where they catch up, right? This is and somebody's got a meal they're famous for. And they'll bring that, and then, it's you got to get up way earlier than you care to. And then it's, being in the blind or in the deer stand when the sun comes up. I mean, there's, I can show you picture after picture of a steaming cup of coffee in the window of a deer stand on opening morning. It's just a picture I take every year.
Is that like a sunrise in fishing because you didn't shoot a deer? So you get the picture of the cup of coffee?
That would be a sunset. See, the sunrise thing is anticipation of what's potentially going to happen. But yeah, it really truly is. It's not about the harvest. I mean, that's a big part of it, right? Everybody wants to shoot a big buck, fill the freezer. It's some really good eating, but yeah, there's something about it. Mm-hmm. And I've been invited to people's camps this year. I mean, it's this isn't a woe is me. It's just not. I feel like I'm intruding on someone else's deer camp experience.
But then you get a weekend off.
Exactly.
So, is there anything like that in the waterfowl world that equates to something?
There's definitely plenty of times where we don't even shoot the gun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I enjoy getting out. Whether you go out there and you see some birds, it's about being outdoors and being with your friend or your family that enjoy what you enjoy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's what it's about. I mean, I've shot deer before. I mean, I haven't gone in years. I think the last time I shot one was probably 8 years ago. I got so excited. I hunted for 15 minutes. And
you hunting out of the truck?
No, I hunted out of a blind and shot the deer. And the guy that I was with, we got it all cleaned out and we threw it in the bed of in my trunk of my car. I was driving a car at the time. We threw it in the car. And I brought it home, and then my dad actually helped me. We hung it and cut it up. So We process our own deer. But I still 15 minutes, and I picked one. I was like, which one do I want? I'm like, that one looks a little bit bigger than that one. I want that one.
Wow.
And I was done, and then I went back waterfowl hunting the next day.
I like it. Waterfowl hunting is very, very addictive as well.
It's very expensive, but it's fun.
And that's one of the reasons. And it's expensive both in dollars and cents, but it's also very time consuming.
Yes.
Some of the things I enjoyed the most about waterfowling, and I've pretty much given that up. I loved making blinds. I loved that. I loved the hiding, the fort type deal. And obviously a good dog. Yeah. There is nothing like a good dog, and seeing a dog that you've trained work. But then the communication with the ducks. I just like anything that you can call in.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
Training your dogs. I mean, I got one heck of a dog. I mean, Maxis is awesome. He's got his replacement. She's in training right now, Lucy. But I plan to retire him in a couple years just so he lives the longest life he can.
We know Max.
Oh yeah, everybody knows him.
Everyone knows Max.
I got a good story with him and Blake Busen.
Yeah.
First time I ever met the Busens, we were out fishing on Pekegama, and Blake pulled up a crappie out of the ice hole, and he was just getting ready to throw it back down, and Max just goes and flies across the ice and grabs that fish right out of his hand and ran away with it.
So you've got him trained.
Yeah, I can't catch the fish, so I got to let the dog do it for me.
I've got to meet Max. Max come to a lot of events with you. And I've heard, speaking of dogs, like my buddies that do the waterfowl hunt or the pheasant or the grouse where you really work a dog, I feel like I always hear them say, that's what it's about.
Yep. Really
it's about watching your dogs way more than shooting a bird. That's why they do it. It's super exciting. It's fun. And I've never done that. I've had a Doberman, Bo, God rest him, but no way in heck would I take him hunting because he's spastic. He would chase everything down. But I see friends, Matt Brewer, for example, or other people that have really well-trained dogs. Darren, your dogs, I can definitely see where it's like you're going with a legit family member.
Yep.
And to watch them succeed, just like I like to watch my kid play football, and it's so prideful, it's got to feel the same way with your dog.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I don't deer hunt is because a dog can't retrieve a deer.
Yeah, Max could.
He's retrieved a turkey.
I would say he'd try.
He'd definitely try.
No, that's true. I mean, I remember, and certain breeds are made for waterfowl, right? I mean, I had a yellow lab and trained it as best I knew how. And the first time I took it in the marsh and I shot a duck over him and couldn't find the bird. I couldn't find the bird. And I was chastising the dog. I'm like, you need to be over here looking. I don't know what you're doing over there. And I gave up on the dog, and I'll figure it out. I'll find it myself, figuring I failed on the training side. Then I gave up. Pretty soon here comes the dog back.
He's got the bird.
He's got my bird. I'm like, okay, you point proven.
Yeah. Yeah, dogs are crazy animals.
Yeah.
A lot of instinctual.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Instinctual
behavior.
Yeah,
I would
like
say.
they just kind of pick it up. It's crazy. And I've heard of some people say their dogs have grabbed like a pheasant without having to shoot it. Like think mid-flight, the thing jumps out of the brush, the dog grabs it in midair. I've heard stories of that happening over the years, and it's just like,
I was at a pheasant hunt with Kenny, and Maxis did that.
Yeah.
I had to tell him, let it go, let it fly.
Yeah.
That's not easy to get a dog to let one go.
Yeah, Max is our buddy on the ice. Whenever we work together on events, he hangs out. I think he gets to meet everyone.
Oh yeah.
Whether they want to or not, he's going to meet everybody.
And throws a tennis ball at
Yeah.
him.
Tennis ball, sticks, hangs out, leftover hot dogs or buns on the ground. He's good for that too. Max is a yellow lab, right?
Yeah, British lab.
British lab. Cool. An absolute moose.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He would be a all-state athlete as a human in his physique. I can tell you that. Max is put together. Darren will come to my house once in a while, and Max will get pretty excited, and he's run around my yard a couple different times, and it's pretty cool. So deer hunting this weekend. I know a lot of people are going to be out and about. I know people are excuse me, our offices are pretty quiet today. People are already on PTO, kind of getting things ready at deer camp and that kind of stuff. Hunting and fishing, I think, are so entwined. I think there's so much. I feel like I'm almost a minority when it comes to I don't hunt. Seems like there's a lot. If you're really into fishing, you probably do some level of hunting and vice versa. So that's pretty cool. Great time of year to get out and do that. Jumping into fishing side of things, I think this kind of navigates into kind of what you're doing now a little bit, and kind of what brought us back full circle between you and Clam Outdoors. And we first kind of regrouped and rechanneled our focus and partnered on some ice fishing events.
Yep.
This was probably 6, 7, 8 years ago. It was pre-COVID. It was
8
years ago. We probably did the first one.
Yep. That was on, I want to say we did it on Rush was the very first one.
Rush, and then we've done Waconia, and now we seem to be back on Rush for a while. Yep. We did it once on Lake Crystal.
I think that's the one that's done by
Burnsville.
Burnsville, right?
Yeah. So the idea with these events is to get disabled outdoors men and women on the ice, doing some fishing, having some fun, goofing off, eating some food. We make fun of each other a lot. We goof off. I mean, I've gained a lot of great friendships over the years. Maybe we want to touch on kind of why we wanted to do these events in the first place, and really the purpose. I know, and then you can maybe touch on, I won't spill the beans, but you have an organization that you've been pioneering here in Minnesota that's a branch off of another organization. And I think it's good just to kind of let people know the intent of these events and really kind of maybe the goals.
So, I run Disabled Outdoorsmen Minnesota. It's a chapter off of the Texas chapter, which is Disabled Outdoorsmen USA.
Okay.
We have other chapters. There's one in Utah, one in South Carolina, and then one in Alabama. Alabama and Minnesota started about the same time. I just I wanted to do my own thing here in Minnesota with getting people out, so I had reached out to a couple people that I knew that would possibly have leads for me, and they kept telling me that I should reach out to Weston Jenkins down in Texas. So it's I reached out to Weston, and here we are. We got the Minnesota chapter set up, and I got Cameron. He's the vice president of down there. He came up for our Sporting Clays event that we had back in April this past year. And he came up here and he says, "You guys are all crazy up here. It's cold, 32 degrees." And I said, "Hey, nothing." I said, "You wait till next year. We're going to get you on the ice." And he says, "No, I don't do that ice fishing stuff." I said, "You will." I said, "It'll be nice and toasty in one of those. We'll get you in a house and we'll get you some fish." And he promised me. He goes, "I'll come up and go fishing with you guys." So when we have our clam event on February 1st this year, he'll be here for that.
Now, I must say, I've never met Weston. First of all, he sounds amazing. Weston Jenkins.
Yep. And
Has to be from Texas.
I was gonna say, sounds Texas.
That's just sounds. So, God bless him for starting the master organization. Now, you've branched off. I know you said South Carolina, you said Utah, you said Alabama, Minnesota kind of joined at the same time. Maybe how many members are a part of this now?
It's so Minnesota, we got about 30 members. I mean, you don't technically have to be a member to participate.
Sure.
And that's being that we're just starting out with this kind of stuff. It's not requiring that. I mean, if I required everybody that wants to participate to be a member, then we'd probably have a handful more.
Yeah.
But it's not about the membership. It's about the disabled and getting them outdoors. So down the line, we'll have memberships, but right now it's getting people out, and we got a lot of land that people have graciously came. I mean, I had a guy come up to me at the game fair, and he says, "Do you get disabled out, huh?" I said, "Yep." He goes, "Good. I got 1,000 acres you can hunt."
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
And that's for waterfowl, for turkey, and for deer.
Wow.
And we actually have some deer blinds on his property. We're doing bow hunting this year just because it came up so quick. We didn't have time for getting guys sighted in with their guns and stuff yet. So, but next year we'll have more opportunity for that kind of the long guns and stuff too. But it's a blessing. I mean, Weston started the whole thing just because he had a family member that's disabled, and he grew up around that, and he wanted to give back, and that's where we are.
Nice. And you don't need to be in a wheelchair, right? So, I mean,
No.
at some of the events I've helped at, I mean, there's some gentlemen that might be missing an arm,
Correct.
Missing a leg, or a number of different things. So, it's very diverse.
Yep.
So, I mean, now they can just reach out to you. How would they reach out to Disabled Outdoorsmen Minnesota if somebody listening would like to jump on, or even potentially start or help create a chapter? I mean, we have listeners and viewers from all over the ice belt.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, if somebody wants to start another chapter in another state, which we're looking to do in the next 10 years, we'd like to see us chapter in every state, because there's different types of hunting and fishing throughout all 50 states.
Yeah.
But so anybody that wants to do that kind of stuff, I mean, you can go on our website, Disabled Outdoorsmen MN.net is for Minnesota's chapter, or disabledoutdoorsman.com for the headquarters, or find us on Facebook or on Instagram. I mean, feel free to shoot me an email. I mean, you can click right on there and you'll find the email right on either one of the Facebook page or the website. You'll find the email on there. But get a hold of us and we'll get you out one way or another.
Yeah, and I know there's listeners that maybe want to help support some of the events. We put on an ice fishing event. Darren mentioned February 1st. We've done it for many years, partnered with him. Excuse me. And it's a whole lot of fun. We go fishing all day. Like I said, we have way more fun than we do fishing.
Correct.
It seems like fishing, it sounds cliche, but it becomes a bonus that day.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time we all end up just sitting around the grill. Thane's been a grill master at this before with Traeger trailer. And I think the most fun we have is just kind of hanging out and talking smart and hanging out. And if a handful of fish get caught, great. We got to meet one gentleman last year, quad on a bike. Remember he came out? I follow him on Facebook and Instagram now. Dude just gets after it. And, that was, I think, his first time ice fishing, wasn't it?
Yep.
He, using warmer climates, came in town, kind of touring around, and, it was kind of fun. So it's kind of cool to see some of that. And I've got to meet some people over the years doing it. So if you want to be involved in some of that stuff, you can reach out to Darren as well and maybe get a list of some dates and some opportunities to be involved in some of this. I look forward to it every year. I mean, I know the second we finish the event, you and I are already talking about what date for next year.
Oh, yeah.
And planning that sort of stuff. So pretty simple stuff. So a lot of ways to be involved there. Thank you so much, Darren, for putting that on, for organizing this. I would encourage anyone listening that if they can help in any way, shape, or form to reach out to Darren, see what ways exist. And like you said, if you don't happen to be in Minnesota and this is something that intrigues you yourself are disabled, your family member, son or daughter, mom, dad, close friend, whatever, and you want to find a way to open up a chapter in your state, the worst thing they can, or the least they can do is ask.
Yep.
You never know. It could be something that becomes something else. So wonderful. I think it's important that, Darren's going to get on the hot seat when it comes to ice fishing. So Darren has been to our pro day. Darren has been to many events. Darren ice fishes an absolute ton. I think we got to start getting excited for ice fishing.
Heck yeah.
I think we got to start talking about what's going to work, what's not going to work. We got teased with some cold weather.
We did too.
It's going to melt.
Well, this weekend it's going to melt easily.
Unfortunately, but we did see some ice in October, which I hate saying because I think all of us in this room know better. It's false hope. It's like becoming a Vikings fan. I mean, I love the Vikings. I will always cheer for the Vikings, but just something, right? You kind of always take a step back. So yeah, we got that early freeze, some snow leading up to Halloween, skim ice, reality kicks in back into the 40s. But speaking about ice fishing, what are some of your plans this year, Darren? Do you planning a trip up north? You chasing walleyes, panfish? I know you guys usually put a shack on one of the local lakes. What are some things on your hit list this winter?
Well, at Pro Day, we actually got a couple. We got the X600 and an X800. I let Jack Conrad drive my track chair through the doors to make sure that the chair would fit through those new sweet doors that are on those ones.
And it fit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's tight, but it was also Jack driving it. So
Yeah.
But no, we'll have a house out in the metro area and one out in western part of Minnesota. Always chasing those crappies.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love doing ice fishing for. I don't catch big ones or a lot of them, but I watch a lot of people catch them. My mom and my stepdad are probably two of the best fishermen I've ever met, and they're always catching fish all over the place.
Yep.
Everywhere they go, they catch big fish.
Yep. Metro, we're pretty spoiled in the Twin Cities. I think we have a lot of fishing opportunities, but Darren's right. I mean, here's the thing about it. We see social media, and you usually just see the good days or the big fish. So everyone always, I get that all the time too. And I'm sure like if Adam Griffith is listening or watching, or Bart or any of the Crappie Chronicles, would probably tell you the same thing. Like they just assume that Griff goes out and catches 2-pound crappies every day. No, he strikes out more than he doesn't. I mean, any one of us at this table would probably say the same thing. Social media has kind of jaded us a bit to where we just assume it's like that. I'm going to post pictures of my nicest fish I caught that day. I'm not going to post a picture of the 7 4-inchers I caught. Right. So it's...
or we're going to take really good pictures that make the 4 inches look like 9 inches.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're pretty spoiled here. And when it comes to ice fishing, we're spoiled. Forward. Yeah, Darren's got it down. It's nice. I know you guys have a big fish house you put out on random lakes. And I think the key to that is, for anyone listening, I think they understand this too, you want to pick the windows of time where the fishing's the best. We had Gens on the last podcast. We're at the North Metro Ice Show. And one of the tips he gave, because I said, what is one tip that you would give to any of the families? We talked junior ice team last week, and to the families listening, like that are getting into fishing, what's a tip? And, I kind of touched on clothing, make sure your kid's warm, have some snacks, whatever. And Dave, which I admired, and this is something I think we all can take into consideration because time is valuable. Dave said, well, cherry pick the time you go. Put your kids on that sundown bite versus let's get out there at 10 a.m. and leave at 2 in the middle of the day when the fishing's not that great. So as a crappie angler like yourself, there's that magic hour, right? When the sun comes up and the sun goes down.
In the morning.
Yeah, and that's something I think that sometimes kind of goes in one ear, out the other. And I think people know that the crappies bite really good when the sun goes down. I think even the rube angler, that's a term they use on K-Fan, so I still don't fully know what it means, but I understand why they say it. The novice angler.
He's Googling it.
Yeah, he's Googling right now. I
don't know either, so.
They know that prime time, So that's a good tip. I always think it's important that if you're going to get out and do some fishing, increase your chances of catching fish and having a more successful fishing trip. That magic hour when the sun comes up and that magic hour when the sun's going down, especially crappies.
Yep.
They like to feed on low light. They have an advantage over their prey, not to get too scientific on everybody else. Any bucket list trips you have this year? You doing any trips up the Lake of the Woods or Mille Lacs or chasing any walleyes up there?
Not that we've talked about.
No.
I mean, eventually we'll want to do stuff like that, but we gotta get a house, one that we can stay in overnight and send guys up, or even we talked about renting something too to get guys up in for 3-4 days up at maybe Lake of the Woods or something. But we'll eventually get that stuff. We actually sent people off ice fishing. We just got done sending each chapter sent a couple disabled to North Carolina on a red drum fishing trip. Oh. Which they had a blast.
I can't imagine.
That's a bucket list trip of mine.
Big ones that they were catching. And all of them, every single one of them were catching fish like that. So I was like, well, if they can catch fish like that, I can catch fish like that.
There you go.
Yeah. You going on the redfish trip next year?
No, technically I could probably do it, but I would rather see the other person go first before me.
Yeah.
especially with me running the show in Minnesota. I would rather pass it on to somebody else first before I just go and I want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's not fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to get Darren. We're going to go ice fishing a bunch this year. I know that.
For sure.
I mean, I remember going up to Lake of the Woods. Speaking of Lake of the Woods, that was my first time ice fishing in Lake of the Woods. Was actually years and years and years ago with my Uncle Kenny. We'd go to Adrian's, and I think he still does that trip, doesn't he?
I believe so. And I think I heard a story about him with his chair and him. Yeah.
Oh, going off the end of the dock? Yeah, he's done that. We had a low water year on Lake of the Woods, and my Uncle Kenny has 2 chairs, one with brakes, one without. The one without brakes is his boat chair, kind of a beater chair. He's like, I can ding this up. Well, he switched chairs a little too early that day, and when he was going down the dock to the boat, he had no brakes. So my Uncle Kenny can swim with the best of them, let's put it that way. And we thought it was all fun and games till he looked at my brother Ryan and said, well, what are you laughing at? Someone needs to go get my chair.
Yeah, I was just going to say, somebody's going to have to go in and get the chair.
But we do the ice fishing thing, and him and I would always share a day house on Adrian's, and my dad and their other brothers would go someplace else. It was always my Uncle Kenny and I, and man, did we catch fish. We caught so many incredible fish, walleye, saugers, tullabies, sturgeon through the ice. My only sturgeon through the ice was with him, a giant perch and all that stuff. And the one thing I always remember, and I haven't ice fished with him on Lake of the Woods for years, is he always changed his lures so much. Nonstop. Like if he had 2 sniffers come by and they wouldn't bite, he was changing. And I don't do that. I don't do that to this day. I just assume that fish isn't going to eat. And he always outfished me. And he would, nope, they don't want gold. What are you going to tie on? Gold with a red dot. Okay.
And it worked.
And we'd catch one. I'm like, okay, well,
Turned that sniffer into a biter.
darn it. I got to find a gold with a red dot jig in my box. And Kenny used to always go, oh, yeah, I got one for you. $3. So he would always have fun doing that. So it was quite interesting. The Lake of the Woods trip, speaking of ice fishing, I think is in a class of its own. It's awesome because when we think of walleye fishing, just like we talked about primetime crappies, sunrise, sunset, right? Not on Lake of the Woods. You catch walleyes and saugers all day long. Nice. That water's so dirty and stained that really when the sun hits the trees, you go home. Mm-hmm. Where like on the Mille Lacs, when the sun hits the trees, that's when it gets good and you might pick up some fish throughout the night. Nothing. I have stayed overnight in Lake of the Woods many times, and I think I've caught a walleye in years of staying overnight. Maybe an eel pout here or there, but it's totally different. So Lake of the Woods is always that lake. If you're listening and you're looking to do some walleye fishing, especially if you have younger kids with attention spans like mine, something's on your Vexilar all the time. And it might be a 5-inch sauger, or it might be a 28-inch walleye at 1 PM. You never know.
Or a 14.5-inch perch. I mean, it seems like every group catches a big perch through the ice at Lake of the Woods.
Awesome. And they're big. I've always said, if you could target the perch on Lake of the Woods, if someone knew, anyone, and I've talked to every guide that exists, they will look you in the eye, Darren, and say, I've never been able to.
Yeah.
But if you could target the perch on Lake of the Woods and figure out a pattern on how to find them, and if they school up someplace, look out.
I don't know that they school up in the basin.
I don't think they do either. I think they think they're walleyes.
Yeah.
And they're all 12 inches to 15 inches, and they're just...
God, that'd be funny.
Oh, dude, they're
just giant nomads.
Yeah.
And they're so tasty.
Oh, some of the best. Some of the best.
Well, they do get into them in the angle, up in the Northwest Angle on the Canadian side. They'll school up in the fall and they'll catch them open water. I don't know that they target them much through the ice though.
Are they big like that?
Yeah.
They're big. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know
that they're that like that crazy big like you catch on the south end, but I know they catch good ones, 13s, 12s.
Oh, dude, I want to go. You want to go ice fishing?
Yeah.
Let's go.
What are some things now? You've got to see a lot of different products out there. You're a student of the game, Darren. You follow it all. Not just clam, but just in general. Like, do you have a wish list of things that catch your eye? What are some things that you're seeing out there right now in terms of gear that you want to explore more? You're interested in buying? Anything a wish list that maybe our listeners might need to get on their list?
Off the top of my head, you kind of threw me right.
Yeah.
Didn't even think about that.
How about rods, tackle, electronics? I mean, I've gotten through one show now, just the North Metro Ice Show, and I didn't go around the booth too much. Didn't get to see everything. We have something for everyone.
Yeah.
Which is what my dad and I were talking about this. When I was younger, you had to really scavenge to find some of the tools you needed, like tricking your trap, for example. This was a hot topic at the show last weekend. When I was younger and I wanted to add lights to my fish trap, you didn't have an accessory you could buy off the shelf. You went to Menards and you'd rig up some kind of light system. If you wanted to add a compartment, you got to modify. Now we have all these things that you can just readily buy. I think as ice anglers, we're pretty spoiled. Whether it's lures, rods, tackle, accessories, electronics.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I put a post up the other day of my Vexlar box I built in 1997.
It's funny, I still run an FL8.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I'm getting or want to get would be the FLX 28.
Yeah. 28's a cat's meow.
Got the zoom and stuff built into it.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's just so user friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, for all that the FLX 28 does, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that couldn't figure out how to use it and make it work to a T.
Yeah.
Without a whole lot of, you're not going to have to do a lot of studying. It's the FL8 on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Mm-hmm. And Vexlar, it's funny. We were joking one of the podcasts. I can't remember which one recently. Like, what would you do if you didn't? I think it might have actually been the Vexlar podcast with Matt.
I already know the question. I already know the answer.
If you left your Vexlar at home,
I'm going home.
Yeah. Like, how did we fish without electronics? I mean, I grew up fishing with I didn't get a Vexlar until I was probably, I don't know, I was in high school at some point, freshman, sophomore year. And I remember ice fishing long before I fished in a boat as a kid, riding my bike places, this and that. And I remember catching fish, not just good fish, but catching fish was a bonus. Mm-hmm. And I remember coming home some days with a bucket of 5-inch bluegills, and my mom taught me to clean fish, not my dad. My mom grew up on a resort. She scaled the bluegills and then filleted them. I remember I'd come home with these bucket of bluegills that were, I mean, tiny. And I was so proud. And my mom, I think, was just being a good mom. Now she'd probably be like, yeah, those, what are you doing with those? Like, but when I was a kid, she was happy. So she's like, oh, dump them in the sink. I'll clean them up. We'll have dinner. And I'm sure she's thinking the entire time, my gosh.
She's got Tom going to the store to get some cod.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh. Like, God bless her. She was always like, yeah, we can eat those, because she liked to eat fish more than any of us. But I remember those days. And then I ended up getting, let's see, a Lowrance green box.
Oh, yeah.
You remember those? They were all one box, one color flasher. I got one of those. I had a Humminbird of some kind, one color red. And then it was the Vexlar. And the rest was history.
Yeah.
To me, that was one of the biggest game changers for me, was seeing your lure, seeing a fish come up to it, and you going, wow.
The first time I ever used one, I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And then once you understood it, you're like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Took all of about 3 minutes.
Yeah. Now, we use the term game changer. Yeah. I think sometimes too much. But that was 100%.
I'll never.
Anything in my ice fishing life was the biggest game changer.
I will
Electronics.
never forget the first time I saw one. I had one the next weekend and just about got a divorce. But no joke, we lived on a small lake in Iowa, and there happened to be a guy sitting there. He had his lantern out. I walked out there, and he had these 2 crappies that were just huge by my standards, laying on the ice. And he was fishing with his Vexlar, and I'm like, what is that? And he showed me, and I'm like, that's legal? And he's like, oh, yeah, it's, and I'm like, where did you get that? Well, that was the end of that, because I'm like, there ain't no way I'm not playing this game. So, I found out where they sold them, and I went and I bought that in my first fish house and got in trouble. I still have The Vexlar. I don't have the fish house anymore.
That Vexlar we had that I post the pictures of, Darren, my dad will tell you, I'll be the first to admit, I didn't really pay for it. If I did, it was minimal. Dad paid for it, and I used it. I remember we'd go fishing, and I'd grab, my dad would once in a while make a comment, very rarely. So I think he just enjoyed getting out with me. And my brother didn't go. Ryan, my older brother, never wanted to go fishing, so it was my dad and I. And I remember once in a while he'd make a comment, am I ever going to get to use that thing that I bought? Oh, yeah. And then we'd sit by each other once in a while, punch a hole between us, and look at it.
Crank
and then,
the gain up.
I got to go look for some more fish, and I'd take it. And he'd always, maybe someday I'll get to use what I bought. It's like, but yeah, we always joke about that. So talking about crappies, Darren, how do you like to catch your crappies? Like if your first 2 lures you tie on, what are you using?
Pinhead.
Such a theme this year.
I thought about answering for him.
Once I got introduced into that, it's like the only thing I can catch fish off.
Yeah.
But that's all I ever use.
Yeah.
If you look at my little tackle box I have, that's full of pinheads.
Yep.
What would you have used before the pinhead?
Just a jig from Fleet Farm.
Yep.
I've been like, that chartreuse right there. I'll use that one.
Yeah.
And my stepdad would catch fish with it, but I wouldn't.
Throw a minnow on there, or yeah,
cheat when you use a leech.
So last year,
winter leeches in the winter.
I haven't used that stuff for ages.
I like it though.
Yeah, I've heard of that leeches, and I've even heard of crawlers.
Yeah.
Use. I can tell you, I think it was last year. Was it last year that I came out to the shack you were in, and you were catching them, and no one else in the house was catching anything? And I remember I come in there, and if I remember right, there was like 6 dudes in there fishing.
Yeah.
You had that shack packed with people, and you guys were struggling to catch fish except for Darren. And I walk in there, BSing, talking. Everyone's talking smart, and I think people were kind of giving Darren a hard time because they're like, he's the only one that's catching them. And then I think you were like, well, you guys need to put on a pinhead, and you might catch some crappies. And that was pretty fun. It is a dynamite bait. I mean, I know we beat a dead horse with it, but it just flat out catches fish. Easy to fish too. It's no bait. Drop it down. They want that flapper blade, I swear.
It is. I was just looking at that the other day. Drew had me in looking at some underwater footage, and I'm like, this bait literally does nothing. It just goes up and down. Yep. It just goes up and down. It's got to be the flapper.
I think
it really
it is.
does. It's got to be the flapper.
And now we're gonna you have not used a Tika flash yet. I know that it's new this year. I'm very anxious to hear your response.
Yeah,
because I've got to use it a bunch. I was fortunate last year to be able to test it. I did a couple shows with it. You're going to see a show coming up on Midwest Outdoors TV next weekend or the weekend after, where I put the hammer on some slabs. And I've said this a couple times, and I've had people literally snap their head and stare at me like, what is your problem? It might get the nod.
No, really?
Over the Pinhead Pro.
Really?
As my first drop-down lure for a crappie this winter.
Color? What color?
Ooh, I wrecked them on that parrot one last year, but I've caught them on the White Wonder Bread. I've caught them on some of the fire or the tiger patterns. They got a pretty little gold one, gold with the orange and the green, like that. My favorite color, Pinhead Pro.
Purple and yellow.
Yep, that's a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's like, why can't the Vikings be this good?
Well, we get to see, and when you listen to this podcast, you will already know the answer. But what's the rookie's name that's going to start on Sunday? We all know Cousins got hurt. He's out for the season, which is a major bummer. Mostly because the guy's just a good dude.
Hands down.
I mean,
he's a great person off the field.
Oh,
they're saying that he'll probably. They said 99% sure you'll see him at all the games from here on out.
Yeah,
he
with
is
his helmet on.
Yeah, with his helmet on, listening to the correspondence.
We look up to. I always think sometimes, not to get too weird, a lot of our youth look up to false idols, right? And some of them are athletes, And I'm not saying that athletes aren't important. They don't serve a purpose. There's a lot of great ones, but a lot of these athletes, as you know, are not the nicest people, right? No. I shouldn't say a lot of them. There are some, especially in the world of sports, right? But a Kirk Cousins is like such a breath of fresh air. Just a heck of a good human being. And I think, I heard K-Fan this morning, actually, on my way to work, saying how amazing of a leader he is and how that entire team adores him. And you can hear grown men, whether it's KOC, whether it's Ben Lieber, whether it's any of these analysts or sportscasters, just in the tone of their voice, it's the sadness. Oh, yeah. I remember when Adrian Peterson tore his ACL in his prime and couldn't play for the Vikings. You didn't hear that sadness, right?
No.
You didn't hear it like, oh, it's a bummer. Legit sadness and depression upon his teammates to know that their leader went down. And that's sad. I mean, I was excited. I've told Jack and I, my oldest son, who Darren knows very well, Jack told me, he goes, Dad, you watch. The Vikings will beat the 49ers. He said it. He goes, and I'll be honest. I said, it's going to be tough. If you're asking me to bet money on it, we're not winning this game, right? Let's just be a realist. And Jack said, oh no, Dad, they will beat the 49ers. And then when they beat the 49ers, you will see them make a playoff run. And I'm like, okay. And they beat the 49ers, and then we lose Kirk. So kind of a bummer, but he heck of a ball player. But
we need to get him on the ice.
Yeah. So who's the
he's not going to be doing anything on Sundays.
Yeah. So when you listen to this, we will have seen how the Vikings do against the Falcons. We have no idea. But we got that rookie quarterback now jumping in.
I am horrible at this.
I don't remember his name.
Something Hall.
Jalen Hall.
Jace Hall.
Jalen something.
And Kayla, do you know? Kayla's looking on her phone.
Yep.
I'm kind of excited. I mean, you're talking about a 22-year-old kid. Yeah,
that's been watching Kirk.
The shoes you have to fill. I mean, I can't imagine the nerves. I look at it this way, and I know the whole world, I guess not the whole world.
Jaron Hall.
The whole state, and maybe some other states around us, are going to watch this kid play. And you want to talk about pressure? But from my perspective, at least how I am as a fan and how I see the situation, he can't do anything wrong.
No. He's. I mean, it's probably the best case scenario in a lot of ways, right?
Crush it though.
I mean, he's got a ton of firepower around him, and to your point, play loose, play free, and let it all hang out. You got nothing to lose.
Pound it. I'd love nothing more than to see them come out and just pound the Falcons and have this young kid, get a couple touchdowns and feel good about himself. And I mean, look at Brock Purdy.
Confidence is everything.
Tom Brady. Drew Bledsoe got hurt. Tom Brady comes in. We all know how that happened. And Tom Brady was a lot deeper in the draft pick than Hall.
Yep.
So things happen. So, not to talk football too much, but that's
hey, they play football outdoors.
Well,
yes, they do.
We'll see what happens. I can tell you this, at the North Metro Ice Show on Sunday, when the Vikings played the Packers, to be sure found out that people like football because the show went
yeah.
It was us talking to each other once that Vikings-Packers game came on, which, by the way, the Vikings won.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if our Packer fans are watching and listening, sorry. That was entertaining. Crappie fishing. I'm with you. Pinhead gets a nod. The Tikka Flash gets a nod. I'm a tungsten guy. I think you're going to see me utilize silkies a little more than I did last year. I used them a ton 2 years ago, caught a pile of fish on them. I actually asked myself just this week, why did I stop using it? And I think it honestly what came down to things like the pinhead.
Yeah.
I found myself so efficient with it, and I found myself efficient with the pinhead because I didn't have to mess with bait. But here's the thing. With silkies, you don't have to mess with bait.
No.
It's just a different look. So I think I'll see myself tying on some of those. I'm trying to continue to pattern these shallow water fish because I think our deeper basin fish are going to be our window fish, sunrise, sunset. So I'm trying to figure out more of these shallow water fish. And I've learned, especially when it comes to spots, good green weeds, house a lot of crappies, and the fish won't move as much. So I'm excited I got some ideas. I marked some spots in the boat the last few times I was out. I'm that kind of dork. I marked a few spots that I'm like, ooh, this is going to be good for ice fishing. I'm excited to try some of that out. But yeah, like you, Darren, I'll probably be really heavily focused on crappies and panfish. I don't know how much I will get to walleye fish. I usually could do it a few times. Otherwise, we live in the cornucopia of bluegills and crappies here in the Twin Cities. We got 50 lakes within driving distance where we can catch some quality fish.
We were actually supposed to, the organization was going to have a fishing outing with, you probably know him, Brian Deloria.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lake Pepin?
Yep.
Yep.
Down with Feast Your Eyes
Yeah.
guide service. He does an event with us each year. We actually had to postpone it. Kenny was supposed to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up having to have stuff taken care of with furnace and that kind of stuff, and something happened where I wasn't able to go at the time, so we postponed it, but we went last year and we crushed the walleyes down there.
Yep. Brian is a stick.
Oh yeah, Brian, class act. I've known him for a while.
Yep. He came and filmed. I met him. You introduced me to him.
Yeah,
He filmed one of our events.
down in Waconia.
Yes. I was like, wait a second. I met him through you.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's come up. He catches big uns.
His email literally popped into one of my
He catches
email
big
searches
uns.
today. I was looking for something else, and his name popped in there. I don't even remember what it was about, but yeah.
How'd you catch him? Or
I
can't you
forgot
tell?
In the
He told you if you tell
in
anybody,
the
I'll kill
mouth.
you.
No,
In the lake.
In the mouth.
Yeah.
he was using. Well, we actually used the Tika. It's a big one,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He uses the
And-
Tika minnow. Yeah.
but he was using a different brand,
That's okay.
and I said, "Come on, I'm part of clam. I need to use." So he put it on, and I was catching him with the clam, with the Tika. But he Drew went down fishing with him,
Yep.
and those guys were going back and forth down there with that. But that's
Yeah. Tika's
bounce
pretty.
right off the bottom fish every time.
Yep.
Nice.
All walleyes, or did you get any of those big saugers? Because I know there's
It was
some big saugers down there
all-
too.
All walleyes is what we caught down there
Hmm.
that day anyway. But it was last year. I think we actually went the day before Halloween last year.
Okay.
It was cold,
Yep.
but we'll go again. We just got to figure out a date to go again.
Yep. I know he. This is his favorite time of year.
Oh yeah, and it's good fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, but it's crazy is where you go. You literally are meter away from the boat next to you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, dude, I'm not ice fishing. Back away.
Yeah. Bumper boats. I would have a hard time with
That
that.
would be
like,
tough.
Like I guide in a pressured body of water. I'm in a Tonka Soda Stain, but we never see boats that close.
No.
I mean, they
Yeah, the river. I hear about that on the river.
Shaking hands.
They may come by that close wakeboarding or surfing, but they're not fishing that close.
Yeah, but on the river, I hear about that all the time, and it seems to be acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, nobody was yelling at each other.
Yeah.
It was just
Weird.
Just felt like you were in a nice house.
Did you make some new friends? A guy like you, I got to believe, making friends all over the place.
I just talked with my uncle, and bless his soul, he passed here back in August. But my buddy Justin was with, and Brian, and I just focused on.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's the way it should be. But I probably a pretty nice memory with your uncle there.
Yeah, it's
Sorry to hear that.
stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He was around for a lot longer than expected.
That's good.
I mean, that's one thing that he kept talking about to my aunt all the time is, I love fishing with Darren.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's fun.
Very cool.
Catching big walleyes.
You're the perfect person to do what you're doing, Darren. You know what I mean? You've got a giver's heart, and a tremendous inspiration from everything that you've been through and how you've taken what so many people would just turn into an angry person and sit on the couch and be crabby. You're quite the opposite. You're sharing the outdoors. You're smiling. You're happy. You're living life, right? And I think that's super cool.
have to.
And honestly, it's encouraging me to get out and do more because I don't even know what the word is for people that are ambulatory, but like I need to get off my ass.
Yeah.
What it boils down to. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I mean, it's too easy to just sit on the couch and not.
Yeah.
We need to get up and do.
Yep. Absolutely. So
My better half, Sarah, she always tells me that. So I need to slow down sometimes.
I can see Sarah saying that.
I want to go, and it's I want to be outdoors. That's me.
Yeah, but you want to take somebody with you, which is what I very much admire.
Yeah, and it's tomorrow though. It's just me and my buddy that are gonna go.
That's all right.
Hopefully take some geese home.
Yep.
But
What's your favorite goose recipe?
So there's two things.
He's gonna tell us pepper sticks first of all.
Well, jerky.
Yeah.
Goose jerky's good.
I don't have. I live in an apartment, so I don't have a smoker, but I make all my jerky in the oven. 200 degrees, hour and 10 minutes on each side. I'd literally put a wooden spoon in the door, prop it open so it helps dry the meat. I've had guys compliment on how awesome the jerky is. But just a Hunter's blend, that's all I use.
That's my favorite blend. I love that. Have you had that? That's good.
The other way that I like doing goose is cooking it like a beef roast.
Okay.
Literally put everything in a crock pot. Instead of putting a beef roast in there, you're putting the goose breast in there. It's that and duck. I like duck cooked. Just sear it, little cubes. Put it over top of white rice with some brown gravy and some cooked vegetables.
You're making me hungry.
Right?
Exactly.
Just thinking about it's making me want to shoot ducks too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was the goose jerky? Again, 200 degrees.
200 degrees each side for an hour and 10 minutes. And then you just let it sit out to cool off and throw it in a bag.
So you're talking a 2.5 hour cook. Prop the oven open so that some air can get through. Yep, I've heard that. My Uncle Kenny, that's how he makes jerky, in the oven.
Yeah,
I know.
And I've had guys that make it in a smoker, and they're like, your stuff's pretty good.
That's an easy,
super easy.
that's an easy tip even for the listeners on beef jerky.
It just became a cooking show.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody doesn't have a smoker,
No.
and they want to try beef jerky, I mean, I would imagine they can do it the same way.
Oh, yeah. It's whatever. I mean, you just cut it into slices. I do it about a 1/4 inch thick and marinate it for a day or two. Throw it onto a pan and let her go.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's something I think a lot of people could take home and try. Just you don't
Try
need
it on
you don't need a fancy smoker if you don't have one. I mean, you could just do it in your oven at home. And who doesn't like jerky? I mean, when it comes to ice fishing, I mean that's like a staple, isn't it? Like,
Right.
That's what we eat most days on the ice is jerky. Well, if you're with me, it's probably gonna be
I was
brats.
gonna say cheddar brats.
Yeah. What
think
brats did you bring that day
Oh yeah.
from that meat market?
Those were, I don't even know what those were. Nate had got those.
Yeah, Nate had them like hidden so that we made the mass quantity of dogs and burgers, and then Nate's like, "Hey Johnson,
Put these on.
put these on. You're gonna want one of these."
I think those actually might have been venison.
They were
brats
venison.
that he had.
Oh, well, those good. I remember still.
Him and his dad made those.
Yeah,
They were homemade. Very cool.
they were
Speaking
very
of-
good.
Speaking of Nate, he's actually the vice president at Disabled Outdoorsmen.
Outstanding.
Cool.
Nate's awesome. I met Nate through you, and Nate's another heck of a good stick. Who when usually when we get together for events, we don't even fish. We just talk smart. And you have the drone?
Yep, I had the drone.
You brought a drone out, got some awesome content with the drone. The drone was fun. Wasn't it at one of your events where, hi, Rich Lemmer, we dented the hood of his truck, throwing a dog decoy?
That might have been
Well, throwing a bumper?
Laconia.
Yeah,
That might
I'm
have
pretty
been at
sure it
Laconia.
was windy out, and we chucked the thing up, and the wind caught it, and Rich had a beautiful Dodge truck that was all of a month old, and it smoked the hood and literally put about a 4-inch deep dent in that thing. And we all watched it, and we're like, oh, this is not good. Thud.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have fun. We make a lot of memories at some of those events. So this year, yeah, February 1st, we're going to go back to East Rush. Whole lot of fun. I suppose we got to start planning that. We know what's going on. We know the gist of it, but, you and I'll have to go and do a little fishing again in the morning or the afternoon before or after the event.
It's I get kind of off subject, but talking about Nate reminded me of what Sarah's boy Wyatt. He cracks me up. I brought him out to the fishing event we did up on Mille Lacs, but he always tells people, he says that me and Nate are brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think that? Because you guys are both in wheelchairs, and you guys both are beards, and you guys both have big bellies.
Beards, wheelchairs, big bellies constitutes brotherhood.
Brotherhood.
Sure.
Why not?
Sure. Nate
Why
cracks
not?
me up. No, we're excited. Obviously, we're always pumped to help out at those events. It's been an honor to have Darren on our pro staff. You've been on for a couple of years now, lending a hand, answering stuff on social media. You got a huge circle of influence. I know a lot of people respect you and look up to you. I know my son's one of them. Always loves talking to you and seeing you, as do many of our other fellow pros. So this winter, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'm hopeful for early ice. We need it. I'm hopeful for early ice and not a lot of snow.
I was just going to say, without
Yep.
a lot of snow.
Yeah. Keep
Yep.
the snow away. We need
Yep.
cold weather, early ice.
I'd love to get out on Thanksgiving weekend. That would
Yeah.
be kind of like my goal. I mean, we're looking at 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
I told Sarah when it got cold earlier last week, I said, 2 weeks we'll be ice fishing. She looked at me, you're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, with the show season and whatnot, Matt, I mean, yeah, that Thanksgiving weekend, that's going to be about it before life within these walls get a little bit crazy for us. But yeah, it would be really nice to be able to get out and go scratch the itch, so we can actually go to these shows and actually have done it a little bit.
Right?
You're coming to the Blaine Show,
When is that?
November 17th through the 19th. I'm going to finagle you to work the booth for a day.
I can do that.
Probably. So if you guys want to come meet Darren or talk to him, or if you have any questions about any of this, or like I said, you have a family member that might be able to benefit from working with Darren or being a part of the organization, it'd be a great opportunity to come reach out and ask some questions. I would encourage you to reach out. It's as simple as a message on social media. It's that easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I'm guessing there's not a lot of lengthy paperwork. It's just, hey, reach on out. You'll talk to people, let them know some opportunities that exist, how to get them involved. I think it's wonderful. I know every year we've done the ice fishing event, there's a handful of new faces I get to meet.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like every time they're like, this is my first time. This is awesome. Like, I didn't know stuff like this existed. So I think it's wonderful to hear some of those stories. And hopefully there's a bunch more first this year. I think that's obviously your goal, is to expand people and awareness of this, and then also offer them a place to hang out. I mean, you guys do monthly meetings. So if they become a member of Disabled Outdoorsmen MN, are you doing?
Yeah, we do a monthly meeting actually at the Noka Legion.
Okay.
We just changed it because it's more convenient, because they have their meetings on Tuesdays. So we actually changed it to Wednesdays. But it'll be the third Wednesday of every month. We have our monthly meeting at the Noka Legion.
Okay. And anyone can attend that?
Yeah.
So you have burgers and fries and beers and stuff like that. People, it's a good time to socialize and hang out too.
Yeah, we've had a handful of different people show up to it before.
Okay. That's good. So that's something to look forward to. And then a handful of events are going on, and outings, whether it's hunting and fishing and things like that, to be involved with. Pretty darn neat. So you're going goose hunting tomorrow. I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to see a picture on Facebook of you holding some geese.
I hope so.
Seems to be the case. Thane's sleeping in because he's not going to get to deer hunt. He's sad.
I'm gonna try and I'll drive people crazy if I don't get out and do something at my house. So I reached out and picked up the bat phone and called the guy with the last name of Gens.
Oh, you're going fishing?
Well, I don't know. I'm bending an ear. We'll see.
I heard he catches a few smallmouth this time of year.
I haven't heard back, but I'll keep trying.
Yeah, I'm going to do daddy daycare and run to birthday parties and do this and that. I'm going to smoke a giant pork butt. That's happening all day tomorrow.
Glad I know where you live.
Yeah, you know where I live. That'll be done tomorrow night. So my weekend is going to consist of cleaning up the garage, getting ready for ice, doing some yard work, smoking some food, focusing on family, because like Thane alluded to just a few minutes ago, next weekend we'll be in Sioux Falls, hanging out, talking at the Dakota Angler Ice Institute. We'll be doing another podcast there. The weekend after that is the Blaine Show, what we call it the Blaine Show. It's actually the Hardwater Ice Expo in the National Sports Center. Then we get a little bit of Thanksgiving break, and then it's the big dance. It's the St. Paul Ice Show that first weekend of December, all hands on deck. So busy stretch here. We got a lot more podcasts coming at you. We've done a handful this year. I know we got a bunch more fun ones planned over the next month or so. We're going to go hard through December. And then by then we'll be ice fishing. And then the real fun begins. Is that the real fun?
That's when the real fun happens, when we can actually
get to do it instead of talking about it for like every weekend in a row. So we're getting after it. So Darren, thank you so much for jumping on with us. We appreciate it. We love what you do. Like Thane said, he nailed it. You are just a blessing. It's an honor to have you a part of our team. This is a whole lot of fun. Reach out if you haven't. Minnesota Disabled Outdoorsmen, and the website is Minnesota.
It's disabledoutdoorsmenmn.net is the website.
Got it. Disabledoutdoorsmenmn.net. We'll put some links on anything we post to on social media so you can check out where Darren's at. Say hi, connect with him, and rock it out. So another episode of the Ice Team Podcast. We had Darren Dorn joining us today. Whole lot of fun. Obviously, Thane Jensen to my left. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And there'll be another one coming at you shortly. Thank you.